Action, give me a clap.
97.2. Welcome back to On Either Side of an Orchid. We have switched chairs. All right, so I'd solve the dossier problem like this. And it's something I would want to know if I needed the dossier. I'd want to know a likelihood estimate for each element of the dossier.
Okay. And on the break, we looked up exactly what Flynn did. And it turns out that the U.S. had imposed some sanctions on Russia. And General Flynn had called up the Russian ambassador and had asked him not to impose counter-sanctions on the U.S. So he wanted to try to keep the thing from escalating. Now, that's exactly what he's supposed to do. That's part of his job.
You're not supposed to do it before you're in office.
No, you can. You can because...
Who says?
Because you're about to take office.
Well, anyway, he lied about it.
Yeah, but because he may have thought it's none of the FBI's business. It's super sensitive.
Now, there was some other stuff he wasn't charged with, maybe because he took a plea or something, but he was also in bed with Turkey. He was being paid by a foreign power to influence U.S. policy.
Yeah, but that means he's a lobbyist, like 90% of the...
Yeah, but you can't be a lobbyist and be in the government. You can't be paid by...
But he wasn't... Maybe he was going to divest himself of that.
He was involved in a plot that might have included, according to Wikipedia, which is a font of whatever, kidnapping that cleric dude from the U.S. Because the leader...
That's very far-fetched, Rick. Come on.
I don't know.
He was charged with lying to the FBI about what he thought was a super sensitive conversation with the Russian ambassador, and in his capacity as the head of national security, it might have seemed like a reasonable thing to do. He might have thought it was none of their business. And so his life is ruined.
Yeah, that wasn't the only shit he was up to.
His life was ruined because of a dossier that was made up. And it turns out that there was no purpose for this investigation because they knew Bruce Orr was, okay, for those of you who don't know, I'll make this very brief. Bruce Orr was the fourth in charge in the Justice Department. He was number 4. His wife was working for Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS was hired by the Democrats to come up with this dossier. So he had
nothing's legitimate, nothing's true.
Wait, that's bullshit, Rick. He had been talking with with Christopher Steele, the guy that wrote the dossier. So he had warned the Justice Department and the FBI, this is not legitimate stuff. It is not to be trusted. They went ahead anyway. They got a warrant. They tapped everybody's phones. They were reading everybody's emails. They were putting spies into the Trump campaign, and they eventually ruined Flynn's life.
Flynn was being paid by the government of Turkey to influence U.S. policy while he was working for the U.S. government.
No, he hadn't taken office yet. He had.
Then why is he discussing policy with Russia?
He's allowed to discuss policy with Russia because he's about to be in that position.
Then why is he being paid by Turkey? You can't have it both ways. Or maybe he can. I don't know. Let's move on to the next thing.
I don't know what he was going to do about his ties to Turkey, but I can tell you that 90% of the people in Washington are lobbyists for other countries. It happens all the time. It's not illegal. You'd have to fire everyone in Washington and put them all behind bars.
We have somebody here who worked in Washington, and I bet you she didn't work for any foreign government.
Correct, I did not. I work for the U.S. government.
Not everybody in Washington. All right, let's move on to the last.
But lastly, and this is for both of you, is it important to investigate what the hell happened, and how this dossier came, or we now know that he's been exonerated from.
No.
Is it important to find out who is responsible for the start of all this? And it's yes or no. And should we find out whether Obama was connected to it? Lance?
Well, that's the whole point, Rick. You are, I'm going to explain to you, history is passing you by. The thing you don't understand is this. You think you can just keep arguing, no, he's not exonerated. Maybe there's
He's
something.
not completely exonerated. Here's the thing that everybody in my media says. We've yet to see one complete sentence from the Mueller report.
Okay, and what I'm telling you is this. History has passed you by because if the Mueller report exonerates him from collusion with Russia, which is what the summary states, and is not in question because Mueller isn't arguing. Mueller hasn't said that's not what I said. Listen, if the Mueller report actually says that Trump colluded with Russia, then Barr is lying, and he will be found out within the next 3 weeks. Wait, and Mueller should be on the news every minute saying, wait a minute, I said Trump colluded with Russia.
You mean that super chatty Mueller who always you can't swing a cat about hitting Mueller giving an interview?
Yeah, he should say, guess what? I think Trump did collude with Russia, and Barr is lying about what I said. And Barr will be discovered in 3 weeks to be lying. So my point is this. Now that the decision has been rendered,
hold on. You say history has passed me by.
Yeah, you're not letting me.
I'm only 3 weeks behind history.
Yeah, because you're still in the world where you can pin collusion on Trump. We're now in a new world, and in this new world, if Trump didn't do those things that you Democrats accused him of doing, then now we get to find out who started this shit.
Do you mean the world where more people post-Barr summary believe that Trump colluded than before the summary was issued? Now, you don't believe in polls, but I'm going to talk about polls.
What I'm saying is there are consequences now. Without speaking, there are consequences now, Rick. People are going to find out, okay, so who made up a lie? If it is a lie, which is what Barr and Mueller and Rosenstein say, then who made this lie up, Rick? And I'm saying it's Obama. I'm saying it's Obama and Clinton.
All right,
and we are in the Attorney General's office now. And you're telling me that the Attorney General was willing to put spies in the Trump campaign, but not, and actually the Attorney General knew, don't answer yet, that the major candidate in the opposing party, the nominee of the opposing party, was a Russian spy. She was about to go say that to get a warrant to trap Trump, and she didn't tell Obama, her boss. She did this on her own. Would you keep that from the president?
So people are calling this the greatest scandal in American history. A soft coup is what it's being called.
Oh, yeah, but that's fucking assholes on Fox. All right, here's what's going to happen.
Well, actually, wait.
Here's what's going to... Let me talk. You just talked for a long time. Here's what's going to happen. The Mueller report, all 391 pages of it, will come out, and it will show contact aplenty between Trump people and Russian people. It won't... All this contact, however, won't rise to a level that's, at least in Mueller's mind and the Attorney General's mind, that rises to being chargeable. But there will be plenty of justification for that investigation having gone on.
So you're just gonna keep arguing that Trump colluded with Russia?
I'm not going to say there was
for the rest of your life. You'll go to your graves saying that.
Yeah, yes, I am. I'm going to say that there was collusion with Russia that didn't rise to the level. That's my prediction. That didn't rise to the level of being a crime.
Okay, Brennan.
But enough to justify the investigation.
Your main guy, Brennan, has now retracted. He said that he was wrong. He was given the wrong information. Brennan, the head of the CIA, said that Trump was a traitor.
And now he's saying not a traitor?
He says he must have had the wrong information.
Okay.
So the head of the CIA that started this whole thing is now saying that I guess he didn't collude with Russia, And you're saying he did.
I'm saying it was light collusion, okay? Like the 3-2 beer you used to be able to buy in Colorado when you were 18.
So Mueller says he didn't. Trump says he didn't. The Rosenstein says he didn't. Barr says he didn't. The head of the CIA says he didn't. But you say he did.
I'm saying it's not chargeable. Do
you have any evidence that is it just a feeling?
I guess it's just a feeling. Let's talk about
So
polls.
we should be doing things based on your feelings. Unfortunately, I have to use evidence, Rick.
Okay.
All
All right. So earlier this week, I threw up a joke on Twitter that mentioned that Trump has 40% approval rating, and MAGA people jumped on that saying, no, it's 50%. And let me explain what the deal is. There's one poll, the Rasmussen poll, that sometimes measures Trump at 50% approval. And let me tell you what I go to, because I don't like going to any single poll, because they're all of limited reliability. And even a collection of polls is of imperfect reliability, but it's better than just one poll. So I go to Nate Silver's website, which is 538.com. And Nate Silver looks at all the polls, all the legit polls, like a dozen of them. And he compiles them all, and he rates them all. He gives them a letter grade for accuracy. In other words, he looks at the history of the pollster and sees how well they've done predicting elections and other results in the past. And he also adjusts them for if they've been systematically biased towards one party or the other. Because a poll could be very accurate, perfectly accurate, but be 2% off to the Democratic side or the Republican side, but nails it every time. It just happens to be 2% to the right or to the left of the actual results. So Nate Silver ranks these guys for goodness of results and for accurate and adjusts them for partisan lean, and then he puts that together into a single number that adjusts sometimes many times a day. And according to that collection of polls, which I love because it's mathy, and I'll give you one more point, Trump has been between, for the past 2 years, Trump has been between 36.4 and 43% approval. And with most of the time him being in the low 40s. Now, what was the one more? Oh, one more thing. People like to say that how can you trust polls because everybody was frickin' wrong. Nate Silver was the least wrong. He gave Trump at least one chance in 4 of winning the election. And the deal is, of course all the polls are going to be wrong, because if it weren't for Comey's deal 8 days before the election, saying that Hillary was under investigation again, she would have had a much better chance to win. And it's hard for the polls, some of which only tested once a week to have really ridden that bucking bronco of what happened in the last 8 days of the election. And even so, Nate Silver gave Trump a significant chance of winning. So, math.
Well, my only concern for Trump losing is that the Democrats are bringing in illegals, and there are dreamers. There are people that were born to illegals and people that came in when they were very young who are coming of age.
But dreamers can't vote. You're going to say they vote anyway.
Well, I believe that the Democrats have given amnesty to a lot of illegals They did it.
Oh wait, are we working off your feelings? Because you said I can't work off of my feelings.
No, actually, Reagan did give amnesty to millions of illegals in the 80s.
Yeah, 31 years ago.
Yeah, and those people, their kids are now voting. And
But those aren't dreamers; they're citizens.
there are, in my opinion, there are the Democrats are beginning to both overtly give illegals the vote and subversively. I think that there's going to be voter fraud. I think that they're depending on getting illegals to vote, and that's the only thing that Trump has to worry about. If the election was held today with the same voters, I think he would win again handily. But if the Democrats can cheat and squeeze a few more votes from immigrants, then Trump may have a problem.
All right. So anyway, those are your...
And this month, by the way, it turns out that now 100,000 illegals are pouring over the border from Central and America and Mexico per month. 100,000
They're
a
not
month.
pouring over; they're pouring to the border.
No, they're getting in. Yeah,
and then they get ankle bracelets.
No, what happens is.
So if they're getting in, how do you know? Because they're not exactly announcing themselves.
No, they are. They're in caravans. They're coming up in caravans, and the Border Patrol and ICE are not. Border Patrol has to release them after 20
with ankle
days.
bracelets.
No, they're releasing them, and it turns out that
Tracking bracelets.
sometimes not. And what's happening is they are swarming the border. They're swarming our Border Patrol. And what happens is, even when they're caught and held in facilities, they're being released into the United States.
And they made the perilous 2,500-mile journey north, facing robbery and rape and
Because of Democrats
just to vote in an election.
Well, they'll vote because if the Democrats tell them, look, you can stay here if you vote Democrat,
people who can
then they will.
People who speak 28 words of English are
The
people who are terrified to commit any offense for fear of being people who drive 15 miles under the speed limit when they dare to go on the freeway at all because they're so terrified of having anything to do with authority that's going to catch them and kick them out are here to vote. They're here to vote by the millions.
They're not that terrified of authority, Rick, or they wouldn't have done it. And I can tell you that the Democrats in California have started voter harvesting. And what they're doing is they're going...
A state where Democrats overwhelmingly win anyway, where let's add another 500,000 fake votes to California's overwhelmingly Democratic vote where it doesn't fucking matter because...
The reason that... Could you stop interrupting me, Rick?
I don't know.
Okay. The reason that it's overwhelmingly Democratic is because the Democrats elect so many millions of illegals in. It wasn't Democratic when we were younger. It was Republican. The only thing that's changed, the only thing that's changed is the Democrats brought in immigrants.
Nah.
And now they're... Well, what is your explanation? Just people are becoming enlightened? So the point is, it's a rhetorical question. So the point is that they are voter harvesting, which means a Democrat comes to your apartment building or your neighborhood and he says, is there anybody here that would like to register to vote? And then he finds out who they are, he gives them a ballot, they sign it, then he takes as many as he can back to the polling
this is
place.
Illegal, by the way.
No, voter harvesting is legal.
Oh wait, it's illegal, I'm sorry, in North Carolina. You're right,
Yeah.
sorry.
So what I'm saying is that's how they're doing it. So they don't have to speak 28 words. They can have Spanish-speaking people. In fact, a lot of the dreamers who grew up here, don't interrupt me, a lot of those dreamers are working. They specifically use dreamers because they can speak Spanish and they're in the same boat and they can't vote themselves, but they're anxious to go into the neighborhoods and get as many votes as they can, and they're bringing tons of votes into the polling places.
Oh, so they're using people who can't vote to get votes from people who can vote. So it turns out those votes are actually legit because they're cast by legitimate voters.
Well, they can actually, and they can go to illegals. It's very easy in the United States.
Except there's no
let me tell you how they do it. Let me tell you.
There's no proof of illegals voting.
Yes, there is.
Of how many? Tell me how many. Is it more than a dozen? Because major studies of 1 billion votes cast over a period of 12, 15 years show less than a dozen. No, actually, it might be more like 50 out of 1 billion.
Yeah, you said that.
Yeah, but because it's a study done by like people who know what they're doing.
Yeah, Democrats. So let me ask
people who like statisticians, guys who like math.
Rick, listen to me carefully for a minute. You're saying that out of 1 billion votes cast, only 50 were illegal?
Only 50 were documented to be illegal.
So do you believe that yourself? Do you believe that yourself?
Yeah, I trust.
50 out of
I trust statisticians and people who gather information more than I trust fucking Tucker Carlson with his head tilted skeptically.
Okay, Rick, think about it for a minute. 1 billion votes, only 50 were illegal. Do you believe that?
It might have been 250 out of 1 billion. 250
out of 1 billion? Do you believe that?
I know that like one woman in Texas went to jail for 5 years for inadvertently misvoting, and somebody double voted for Trump and they're going to prison for. Yeah, I do believe it.
So our system is so good that only, you said 250 people out of 1 billion were illegal. You believe that?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're naive, because with 1 billion possible votes, I do not believe it is credible that only 250 were illegal. That is completely impossible for me to believe. No matter who made that study, I don't believe it. It's impossible. But and I don't believe it because I'm an adult. It's just it's ridiculous. But my point is that that's again the reason. But the Democrats now are actually asking. There are bills now to let illegals vote. As a matter of fact, in Florida, they just made it legal for
felons
for
released felons.
Yeah. That it was one of the rock beds of our system, is that felons can't vote. But the Democrats know they can pick up a few votes from criminals or ex-cons, so that's what they're doing.
You mean rehabilitated ones? People who paid their debt to society and
We're supposed to lose the right to vote. Yes, forever.
Where is that? Is that in the Constitution?
It's one of our earliest laws, and the reason is a good one, because in a small community, you don't want people voting that have demonstrated themselves to have ethical problems, because you can then use their votes to do nefarious things. You can get groups of people that are not pillars of the community, people that have broken major laws.
Oh, you mean people who might be trying to... Now, some people are going to be recidivists. They're going to go back. I bet you other people who've done their time want to keep their noses clean, and they want to participate in the legitimate business of America, including voting.
So you want ex-cons to be able to vote, felons. You want felons. If you murdered someone and got out of prison 20 years later, you want that guy to be able to vote. That's important to you.
I don't know what the exact law is.
Well, the exact law is, up until now, up until our adulthood, if you had committed a felony, you could not vote in the United States.
When Mark Wahlberg was a teenager, he beat an Asian guy so badly that the guy lost an eye. Does Mark Wahlberg get to vote now?
He should not. No, he's forfeited his right.
So there was 2 years of investigations because of possible interference in an election. So do you think that requiring at least somebody to show an ID at a voting booth, if in fact folks are...
Speak louder.
I'll ask the question for you.
Yeah.
Our director asked, do you think people should be required to show an ID at the voting booth?
Because the Democrats are very, very concerned about
All right, so the
interference
deal
with the
is,
election.
okay. I'm okay. Let me say what I was going to say like 10 minutes ago, but before you respond to this point. If getting ID is not biased, if it's not a way to fuck with people who are not in the preferred demographic, then I'm okay with it. If getting an ID is easy, and I don't mean easy to cheat on, but easy to legitimately get, then I can see where that could be a thing. Though it's been proven by the studies that Lance doesn't believe that people tend not to, that people on 99.3459s past the decimal point don't lie about who they are when they vote. Now, so we were talking about Trump's chances. Hold on.
Did you want to respond to that?
One second. So, when Trump...
I did want to respond.
Yeah, but give me a sec, because I've been trying to make this point.
It's a
No, let me.
Is it a topic with a
I'll remember.
It's a similar fucking topic, but not exactly. So when Trump first took office, his approval was at 52% on the aggregate of polls, and it quickly dropped into the low 40s, and it's stayed roughly there for 2 years. So I believe that roughly 15% of the people who voted for Trump may have been a little skeptical, but were willing to give Trump a chance. And I believe, given the way the popularity went from 52, like let's give him a chance, down to 42, and has stayed around there, that maybe 15% of the people who voted for Trump have decided that that wasn't the best thing. And if they stick by that decision, I think that Trump, in appealing mostly to his base, will have a hard time racking up as many votes as he got in 2016. Now, it's still that means it's the Democrats' election to fuck up by infighting and by picking a candidate who leans too far one direction or another, or doesn't pick up the demographics that the Democrats are strongest in. All right, sorry, go ahead.
You wanted to talk about voter ID. Yeah, the Republicans want to make it easy for people to vote. They're willing to go to people's homes and take them to places to get the ID. They've actually said, okay, fine, we'll send buses over and bring people in to get the photo ID when this has come up. Also, the head of the New York State Election Commission, which Rick doesn't believe, but it's on video, is on video.
I've seen the video. I believe the
video. Is on video saying that there are people voting several times in New York City. So Rick doesn't believe in believing the New York State voting commissioner, but I do.
All right, you know what? Let me.
More.
No, you've convinced me, because I'll amend what I said. That only 250 votes cast illicitly out of 1 billion. That is too low. But is it like some huge number, like so that it would add up to 3 million votes being cast illicitly out of roughly 130 million in the 2016 election? No, not 3 million, not 300,000.
But you have to realize that only a few thousand votes would have given Hillary a few states. So if in every state they were able to cheat on 10,000, 20,000 votes, that might have made the difference. So it's very important that there be no cheating.
Yeah, but there's also this bullshit like in North Dakota, where they like weeks before the election, not very long before the election. They said, you know what, your ID has to have your street address, and this was designed specifically to fuck over the Native Americans.
Okay, well, I'm against anything that disenfranchises anybody. I want open and free, and everyone gets to vote that wants to vote. That can prove their American citizen prosperity.
Can you, our camera turned off at 30 minutes, so can you start where you came in when you started, just for safety?
Okay. Shit, that's a lot. All right.
I'm not sure how much we lost, but just
all right.
in case.
Okay, number one.
We lost about 20 seconds.
Oh, well, I just wanted to say that the head of the New York State Commission
No, that was long before.
did say that there is voter fraud. The New York State Voting Commission is on tape. You can see it on the internet saying that yes, there was voter fraud in New York. As far as the polling, as I say, the only time I recall the American people voting against peace and prosperity was during the Bush II election against Clinton. And in that election, the Democrats, I believe, were behind, it wasn't Ross Perot, it was this Anderson, you remember, Anderson, I think, threw the election on one of those. And Perot threw the election on another one. And that's how Clinton got in. So without a third candidate, without a third party to siphon votes away from the Republican, I don't think they'll vote against peace and prosperity.
Who says we won't have a third party candidate? We've always had one.
Well, there might be, but if there is, will he take votes from Trump? It would have to be somebody that nobody's thought of.
You know, it could be, there are what, 14 Democrats running?
Yeah, but they're all very similar.
Yeah, but I mean, one of them could...
They're going to take votes from each other.
No, but one of them could run as a third-party candidate.
And take votes from the other Democrat.
All right, but I don't think
Anyway, I think we're about...
Yeah, we're done.
Just one more question.
Okay.
I'm just wondering about the obstruction of justice, and we can just put this to rest.
Say it louder. Say it louder so we don't have to
the microphone's right here.
Oh, okay. Very good.
So earlier, Rick made the statement, this is questions for both of y'all, that Comey coming out with the investigation, for all intents and purposes, destroyed Hillary's chances of winning. So with Trump firing Comey, wouldn't that make him a hero within the Democratic Party?
No, it's a mess. It's a freaking mess.
How would that be? How would that be obstruction of justice if you fired somebody that actually, caused Hillary to lose? I'm trying to understand that.
Because it's just a mess. It's just a mess, and Comey himself is kind of a mess. When the Barr summary of the Mueller report came out, James Comey tweeted a picture of trees with the comment, "So many questions." He's a tortured man, and he, in his own way, he kind of tortured the country. But I mean, everybody's fallible, and in the 2016 election, people's failings, it was a carnival of stuff that was weird.
So you're not saying that the firing of Comey is an obstruction of justice?
It doesn't make Trump a hero for firing Comey.
But it's not obstruction of justice for him firing of Comey. Is that what you're saying?
Oh.
Because he can, though, right? Because he's...
Yeah, but he said it was to get Comey to... He stated. And I don't know what the standards... I don't know what the standards are. But Trump stated it was to get Comey to... He told Don Lemon, I think, or somebody else, some other TV anchor. It wasn't Don Lemon. Anyway, he told some TV anchor that it was to... it was not Don Lemon, I'm sorry. It's like...
some female, right?
No, it was fucking... Shit. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It was to get Comey off of the Russia thing. But what Trump says from moment to moment can swing wildly. So does that rise up to the level of obstruction of justice? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, okay. I have a lot to say on this, so don't interrupt me. First, right after the election, I was hearing Democrats furious with Comey.
Yeah.
They thought that he gave the election to Trump.
Yes.
But the Republicans were furious at him because he exonerated Hillary Clinton from, really obstructing justice when she destroyed 30,000 emails and acid washed the devices and broke some of them up with hammers. So, I mean, if anybody destroyed evidence, that's obstruction of justice. That is a classic obstruction of justice. Now, the reason that that Trump fired Comey was there were a number of reasons. The first thing is that Comey inserted himself into the investigation. He was just supposed
Lester Holt.
He was just supposed to give that information to the Attorney General to decide whether Hillary's behavior warranted an indictment. And he didn't. He just said, okay, we think she's innocent or something like that. We're dropping everything. So he overstepped his authority, and that's serious, because who asked him to do that? He was just an investigator. But the second thing is, now this is a very subtle point, and most Democrats won't acknowledge this. Comey had gone to, well, Democrats don't know about this, so I'm going to say this first. Democrats don't know that Comey went to Trump and told him, I've got this dossier. This is on record. I have this dossier, and it's got these accusations against you having an orgy. And we don't know if it's verified. He said, we don't know if it's verified. But months previously, he had gone to the court to get a warrant to investigate Trump secretly and told the court that it was verified. And the second...
Wait, what is the line? You read the FISA application, didn't you?
They claimed that the information in the dossier was enough, should justify giving a warrant to the FBI to investigate
So it
Trump.
wasn't that it was verified, but it was sufficient to get a warrant.
Well, it was verified. Okay, when the court receives information from the FBI, it is verified. Now, do you understand? I'll explain it.
No.
When
You
listen.
get a warrant so you can investigate shit.
No, Rick, listen to me. Just don't interrupt me. You're a judge. When the FBI comes to you and says, we have this stuff here that says that we need to investigate Trump, the judge is bound to believe it, because officers of the U.S. intelligence have presented them. It is a secret court. And the only thing they have to go on, Trump doesn't get anyone to advocate for his side. The way the FISA court works is they believe what was given to them.
It's 4 judges, right?
I believe so, yeah.
It's a 4-judge
Well,
panel.
it's 4 different judges for 4 different warrants.
Okay.
But the point that they took, but what I'm saying is their job is not to question the information. If the FBI tells them it's legitimate, they don't question it, because the FBI is the authority giving them, making the request.
I'd like to see the language in the FISA request.
The FISA request was, we have this dossier that says that Trump may be colluding with Russia. We need a warrant to investigate a guy named...
you just put may in that sentence. Trump may be colluding with Russia.
Well, no, it was Carter Page. They needed the warrant to investigate Carter Page.
Did they ever tell the judge that it was Hillary Clinton campaign? That
They said it was the language they used. They said it was commissioned by the candidate for a major political party.
No,
now, there are only two.
No. They said there may be political interests. There may be somebody that will have a political purpose for this. But they didn't say Clinton commissioned this.
So you couldn't make the leap.
You wouldn't, because it was just it should have been the first sentence of the whole thing.
So a
and
judge
they buried it. They buried
it.
it.
A judge who's been in the business of
judging
for
Rick,
30 years.
It was a footnote.
Also, 4 FISA.
It was a footnote.
One of the judges was the
so
Attorney
judges
General.
can't read footnotes. Their eyes aren't good enough to
and
read
one of the judges is the judge that refused to carry out one of Trump's orders and actually resigned.
So, but 3 other judges.
Well, they were biased, is what I'm saying. But wait, you were derailing me.
How many of them were Republicans?
Wait, we're derailing me, Rick.
Yes.
I was trying to make a point. Okay, so the other reason that so what Comey did was he lied to the court and he told a different story to Trump. He told Trump we don't have verification for this. He told the FISA court that it is verified.
No.
Well, how can you say no? I just told you. This is all stated.
You just said this may be the case.
No. They presented it to the court as true. They presented
with disclaimers. You said there was disclaimers. There was a footnote. There was
the footnote was that this may be of use to political enemies.
Also, the FBI was investigating people associated with the Trump campaign.
That's irrelevant. That has nothing to do with it.
Before the
I'm
FISA.
trying to talk about Comey. Let me get my point across, Rick.
All right, then don't throw in all this other shit.
No, but he lied. He did not say the same thing to the court that he said to Trump. Okay?
Whose analysis is this?
It is in the records of his congressional testimony in the book he wrote. Comey has admitted
that he lied.
That he told Trump that this dossier has not been verified.
And what does Comey say about what he said about the dossier when he applied for the FISA?
That this is our reason for getting the warrant. We believe this dossier.
They believe it, but
that's the same as saying our stuff is verified. Please, Rick, can you please? Okay, fine. Just say I'm lying. I need to make my point, okay?
You're not lying.
Okay, I'm lying. I need to make my point. The second reason that Comey was, because the audience understands this, if you don't. The second reason that Trump fired the guy was that when Comey went to Trump, he said, Trump asked him, he said, am I being investigated for collusion with the Russians? And Comey said no. So Trump said, okay, listen, this is very important. I would like you to tell the American people, I would like you to announce this formally, that I'm not being investigated for colluding with Russia. And Comey refused. He refused to make that announcement. So Trump said, so let me get this straight. You're telling me you're not investigating me, but you won't tell the American people. Well, screw you. I'm not having you on my staff. I don't trust you. And I don't want you
working. Did you read the Comey book?
No.
So, but do you know why
this is what Trump said.
Yeah, but what did Comey say about it? What did Comey say about this? Did Comey report this same conversation?
There is no question that this conversation took place, that he refused. It is accepted now by everybody apparently but you that Comey, look, think back in your mind. Did Comey get up and say to the American people, I am not investigating Trump for collusion?
No, but what does Comey say?
No, but did he say that? No, I want to know. Did he ever say that?
No, but did Comey in his book report that the conversation with Trump went the same way?
Yeah. I mean, we can look it up if you want, but that is what Trump says is one of the reasons he fired him. He's now president.
So, yeah, but Comey didn't say that Trump said, can you tell the American people that I'm not being investigated? All
I
Comey's-
don't know what Comey says about that conversation. I know
All
that that's
Comey
what-
says is
that,
that
but I don't need to know because this is what Trump says,
Yeah,
and
but-
Trump's the guy that fired him.
Trump is 300 lies away from
No,
having
but what
told
I'm saying is,
10,000 lies as president.
we will never know why Trump fired him.
Yeah, but you're telling me why.
No, but listen, Rick. Let me get a point across. We'll never know what was in Trump's head because no one can read anybody else's mind.
Except based on Trump's
But
public statement.
what Trump said was, this is the reason.
He also said he fired Comey to get Comey off the Russia thing. He told
But that's exactly that's exactly the same thing as what I'm saying. He wanted Comey to admit that he was not investigating him for collusion.
No, it's anyway. All right, I'm tired of this.
All right.
Give
All
us
right,
money.
so let's stop.
You know what? If you give us money, we will stop doing whatever shit about our show you don't like. So send us money at Lance, capital L, versus Rick, capital R, at gmail.com.
That's a wrap. I gotta get the hell out of here. I can't believe